In every era of combat sports, there comes a fighter who redefines fear, not through loud declarations or flashy entrances, but through raw, undeniable chaos inside the cage. Khamzat Chimaev isn't just a name whispered among opponents. He's a curse, a career-ending shadow that looms over two entire weight divisions. While other fighters climb ranks, Chimaev tears them down. No mercy, no hesitation. Just blood, smashed jaws, and legacies shattered. From his very first UFC appearance, it was evident. This man wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to break, fighting to crush hope, and those watching felt it in their bones. This wasn't just talent. This was annihilation in human form. Born into the fire of war-torn Chechnya, Chimaev's life was never meant to be ordinary. He didn't grow up chasing dreams. He grew up dodging bullets, scraping for survival in a world where pity didn't exist. As a child, he didn't play. He learned to endure. War left no room for innocence, only an unrelenting need to fight back against a world that gave him nothing. When other kids feared darkness, Khamzat welcomed it. It made him stronger. It forged his mindset. That relentless hunger wasn't crafted in gyms. It was born in blood, grief, and the ruins of survival. And when he speaks now of breaking men, he does so with the dead-eyed certainty of someone who's already seen life at its cruelest. At 16, Khamzat moved to Sweden, carrying with him nothing but trauma and a fire that couldn't be extinguished. There, while working brutal labor jobs to survive, construction, warehouses, factory shifts, he began to wrestle. Not as a hobby, but as a necessity, a weapon. Each takedown, each hold, was another step away from the poverty and pain that had defined his childhood. When he eventually earned a job as a security guard in a high-security prison, it wasn't safety he found. It was time. Time to train. Time to prepare. And in that quiet fury, Khamzat built the foundation of a monster. Not the kind you fear in nightmares. The kind you pray never steps into your reality. When he finally stepped into the MMA world, he didn't ease into it. He stormed through the European circuit like a wrecking ball, dismantling opponents with frightening efficiency. Among those victims was Ikram Aliskerov, a feared name in his own right, destroyed in under a round. It wasn't just the wins, it was the way he did it. He didn't edge out decisions. He buried people. He ragdolled them. When the UFC finally took notice, they weren't sure what to expect. What they got was something they'd never seen. Within 10 days, Khamzat fought and destroyed our two opponents, barely breaking a sweat. He wasn't just winning, he was putting the entire roster on notice. There is no blueprint for this chaos. Every time he entered the octagon, something visceral happened. Commentators stumbled for words. Fighters froze. Promoters couldn't look away. When he flattened Gerald Meerschaert with a single, thunderous punch in just 17 seconds, it wasn't a knockout. It was a statement. I'll fight anyone, anytime. And he meant it. No negotiation, no excuses. While others calculated risk, Khamzat devoured it. And yet, just as quickly as he ascended, he vanished. In 2020, COVID-19 nearly ended everything. Hospitalized, coughing blood, Chimaev announced his retirement. The world held its breath. But fire doesn't die quietly. A single call from Chechnya's leader reignited the beast. And when Chimaev returned, he didn't walk. He charged. His comeback was ruthless. A first-round submission, another performance bonus, and another soul snatched from the cage. But even as the MMA world hailed his return, the true test was waiting. Gilbert Burns, a Brazilian buzzsaw, a ranked veteran, a man with everything to lose. What followed was not just a fight, it was a war. For the first time, Khamzat bled. He faltered. He was pushed to the edge. And yet, when the final bell rang, it was Chimaev's hand raised. He had survived hell and proved he could walk through fire without breaking. But something had changed. The myth of invincibility cracked, just slightly. Whispers started. Is he human after all? Khamzat didn't run from the doubt. He ran straight through it. The UFC handed him chaos. A scheduled fight with Nate Diaz that exploded into disaster. Chimaev missed weight. Nate refused the bout. Backstage brawls broke out. Security scrambled. The event nearly collapsed. Dana White had to split fighters across Los Angeles like warlords controlling turf. But when the dust settled, Khamzat was paired with Kevin Holland, and the result was clinical destruction. A lightning-fast takedown, a suffocating choke. Fight over in 2 minutes, all the drama, all the noise, silenced in one violent exhale. The message was clear. Talk all you want, but once the cage door shuts, only terror remains. With questions rising about his weight class and future, Khamzat didn't hesitate. He moved up. New division, new danger. His next target, Paulo Costa. Bad blood simmered. Trash talk exploded, but fate intervened. Costa pulled out due to infection, and in stepped the Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru Usman, a former champion, a legend, a man with nothing to lose. Fans expected war, and for 3 rounds, Usman gave it to him. Khamzat won the decision, but it wasn't easy. For the first time, fans saw fatigue, vulnerability. They wondered aloud, is the chaos starting to fade? Then the truth emerged. Chimaev had broken his hand in round 1. He had fought the entire war one-handed. Suddenly, the legend sharpened again. But this wasn't about resilience. It was about conquest. And Khamzat had only one thing left to do: annihilate the man they said he couldn't. Robert Whittaker, the Reaper. One of the most dangerous strikers in the division, the fighter who never backed down. But Khamzat didn't flinch. From the opening bell, he mauled Whittaker like prey, took him down, punished him with brutal ground and pound, and locked in a choke so tight it shattered Whittaker's jaw. Fans didn't even understand why Whittaker tapped so fast, until the X-rays revealed the damage. It wasn't a choke, it was a death grip. And in that moment, any remaining doubt evaporated. Chimaev was not just back, he was inevitable. Now the final chapter of this warpath nears. A title shot against Dricus du Plessis, the South African powerhouse who rose through blood and grit. But standing across from him will be something he's never faced. Not just a man, not just a fighter, a creature molded by war, failure, famine, and fury. A ghost from the ruins of Chechnya, now dressed in UFC gloves. The question is no longer whether Chimaev can win. The question is whether anyone can survive. Because this isn't a story of triumph. This is a storm, and it's only just begun. There's something deeply unsettling about a man who steps into a cage with the sole purpose of destruction. Not for the glory, not for the applause, but for the kill. Khamzat Chimaev isn't wired like the others. When he stares across the octagon, he's not sizing up his opponent. He's calculating how fast he can dismantle him. He doesn't train to win by points or outlast by rounds. He trains to leave scars. Fighters whisper about him in locker rooms, not with competitiveness, but with dread. Because when you fight Chimaev, you're not just risking a loss. You're gambling your career, your health, your will to ever step into the cage again. Ask Gilbert Burns, a seasoned veteran, a former title challenger, a man baptized in the fires of elite MMA. He thought he was ready. He believed in his power, in his jiu-jitsu, in his fight IQ. But what he walked into was something different. Round 1 was chaos, with both men launching bombs and refusing to take a step back. But Chimaev wasn't just surviving, he was hunting. He dropped Burns with a clean right hand, sending shockwaves through the crowd. Round 2 saw roles reversed. Burns returned fire, dragging Chimaev into deep waters. But the deeper they went, the more vicious Khamzat became. By round 3, they weren't fighting for the win. They were fighting to leave the cage standing. When the bell rang, Chimaev's hand rose. Bloodied, exhausted, but undefeated. He didn't dominate, he endured. And in that, fans saw something new. A man who could brawl, bleed, and still break you. But not everyone celebrated. Some fans questioned the lack of a finish. Others called it a crack in the armor. Khamzat didn't answer with interviews. He answered with violence. The Kevin Holland fight became a reminder. A quick takedown, a suffocating Darce choke, and another soul added to his collection. The narrative shifted again. This wasn't just a killer. This was a tactician who could control the chaos when needed and unleash it at will when provoked. But beneath all the wins and finishes, The real terror lies in what happens after the fight. His opponents are never the same. Burns disappeared for months, healing from both physical and mental trauma.